Launching a multiplayer-only game in VR right now is a tricky situation. Often, if the game doesn't land with players immediately when it releases, it's never going to. But there are some VR games that do grow over time. Some find their community post-launch after significant updates and word spreads. And that's what we're expecting with BlackGate, available now in early access for MetaQuest headsets. BlackGate is a 4v1 online multiplayer game. There's a tutorial that you can engage with by yourself, but outside of that, it's all about online play with other players. Here you have two teams. The first is a team of 4 engineers who have to float about a derelict spaceship, completing certain tasks to make the spaceship operational and unlock new features. The other, the solo player, is an alien, and their job is to prevent the engineers from completing their tasks and eventually kill them. It's a game of undoubtedly 2 halves, and we're going to start with the engineers. The situation the engineers in is a bit like Among Us, in that you have a preordained map with certain tasks that need to be completed. You need to float to the destination, engage with the task, and when you complete it, you may unlock access to a new area or prevent the alien from being able to do certain things. For example, you can close the vents to stop the alien from traveling around the ship through routes that you cannot. You may be unlock a scanner, which will allow you to check your wrist and locate where the alien is. These tasks are set to a scalable level, so it depends on the amount of players you have in the engineers team, how many tasks you have to complete before you unlock the armory. And the armory is where you can go to get weapons to kill the alien. It seems pretty straightforward, but honestly, if you're going to have a good time with this game, you need to invest some time in that tutorial, because the tasks are not straightforward. When you're in a match and you're like, right, I have to realign the communication satellites, it's not necessarily straightforward going and pressing a button. So take some time if you're going to play BlackGate and learn those tutorials. I personally had a much better experience after I'd run through them at my own pace. The weaponry you get as an engineer, it seems pretty basic. It doesn't seem to do that much damage to the alien, so you do need a team of you. It is much better to play as an engineer in pairs going around the station rather than trying and going solo. Before you get the weapons, you have a zapper on your wrist that can stun the alien for a few seconds, giving you a chance to maybe sneak away, but it's not that effective. What's better is when you're in a pair, once you have the weapons unlocked, to have one of you zapping him while you unload into it, and then zapping it again, and keep it stunned, and keep unloading, and going through that cycle. Movement in a zero-gravity environment is very familiar to anyone who's played games like this before. You have wrist propulsion devices, and you press buttons, and you can navigate by moving your controls in different directions. You can lock onto items in order to position yourself, grabbing walls and other items. However, I found this incredibly unreliable. There's no telling which items you can connect to and which items you can't. So instead, you're better off just using the propulsion and then the manual air brakes. Propulsion, manual air brakes, propulsion, manual air brakes to get you to the point that you want to be at, especially when conducting those tasks, which often require you to be in a very specific position to reach them. So the engineers ultimately must complete a set number of tasks, unlock the armory, and then blast the alien to hell. That's how you win as an engineer. The alien has to consume the engineers. Now, the alien starts off as a basic alien, and you have stabby attacks and egg launching attacks. The stabby attacks do direct damage, and the egg launching attacks drain health over time. You can smash apart doors, and as I said earlier, you can crawl through vents. That is, unless the engineers fix something to stop you. And you have an echolocation system that can show you where the enemy are, where the engineers are located, if they're in the close proximity. When you're playing as the alien, you might think that the better idea is to aim for the evolution, because it's not until you evolve that you can actually kill the engineers. Instead, you can just drain their health in the original form and make it so that they can't engage with tasks and whatever else until they head to a biochamber to heal themselves, or one of their teammates does. However, I played a match where I did exactly this. I was just sneaking around, avoiding the engineers at all costs, and consuming floating limbs and things that are floating around the spaceship, to increase my evolution meter, with the idea being that once the meter was full, you return to your nest, your spawn point, and evolve into the creature, the bigger creature, that can actually kill the engineers. But the engineers completed the task so quickly that I was only like 3/4 of the way full of my meter before they came at me with weaponry. So instead, the best tactic as the alien is to constantly be a nuisance and constantly distract the engineers from doing their tasks while still consuming these floating limbs that are flying around the station. And once you get to the point where you can evolve, taking the chance, heading back to the nest, and coming back in full force. So it's a game of two parts, and as it stands, there are some issues, but it is a good time. It's an early access game, so we can expect a lot of refinement before this game comes out as its full 1.0 version. And while currently you're going to struggle to get a match, we did have to play several different sessions before we could find full lobbies that were easy for us to join. Once we did, it was good fun. We were playing with people who were both new to the game and people who had obviously played a few different matches. And the challenge level is entirely dependent on how familiar the engineers are with the tasks and how familiar the alien is with navigating the space station and progressing to that evolution as quickly as possible. Visually, BlackGate is okay. It's not going to win any awards, it's not breaking any new graphical boundaries, but everything that's there is serviceable. It complements the atmosphere and the environment that you're in perfectly well. Ultimately, BlackGate is an enjoyable 4v1 multiplayer game made for VR. It has its ups and downs, and there are some issues that we hope the developers will take on board and fix pretty quickly.
Welcome, engineers. A hostile entity has infiltrated the station and compromised all internal systems. Immediate restoration is required. Prioritize system repairs to unlock the armory and contain the alien threat. Time is critical.
If you're looking for something a bit unique in VR, something along the lines of Evolve, the Turtle Rock game published by 2K Games, in the early days of the Xbox One and PS4 generation that didn't quite land as the teams behind it had hoped. It was an idea that was ahead of its time, and here in BlackGate, they have taken it and evolved it to work in VR. So if you're looking for something a bit different, something a bit interesting, then BlackGate is certainly a game that's worth checking out. If you want to find a game where it's super easy to join matches and you're going to have endless amounts of people that you can play with and so on, I mean, all games go through these teething processes, right? BlackGate will get there, we hope, but right now it is a bit hard to find a match.